Daniel Carter stood outside the glass doors of Sterling Enterprises, holding a folded resume in one hand and his son's crayon drawing in the other. The job he had come for wasn't glamorous. It was a janitor position, paying barely enough to keep his small apartment and put food on the table. He had applied for dozens of jobs before, but every interview ended the same way. "You're overqualified. You don't have enough recent experience. We'll call you." They never did. Daniel had once been an engineer with a promising career, but after his wife died suddenly, he had walked away from everything to raise their 6-year-old son, Noah. Now, Noah was waiting at his sister's house, hoping his father would come home with good news. Daniel finally entered the building. The receptionist looked at his worn jacket and handed him a form without much interest. "Maintenance interview is on the 9th floor." "Thank you." Minutes later, Daniel sat across from the facilities manager. "You understand this is physical work?" the manager asked. "I do. Cleaning offices, carrying supplies, working late hours. I can handle it." The manager glanced at his resume. "You have an engineering degree." Daniel smiled faintly. "My son needs stability more than I need a fancy job." That answer seemed to change something. "You're hired," the manager said. Daniel nearly cried. But before he could leave, the elevator doors opened across the hallway. A woman in a black suit stepped out, surrounded by executives. Victoria Sterling, CEO of Sterling Enterprises, was known throughout the city as a brilliant billionaire who had built the company from nothing. She stopped suddenly. Her eyes landed on Daniel, then on the resume in his hand. "Daniel Carter?" Daniel froze. Victoria walked closer. "Where did you get that name?" He frowned. "It's my name." Victoria's face went pale. "Your father was Michael Carter?" Daniel stared at her. "Yes." The entire hallway went silent. Victoria dismissed her executives and asked Daniel to follow her into a private conference room. She closed the door and placed an old photograph on the table. Daniel's breath caught. It showed his father standing beside a much younger Victoria. "My father worked for your company?" Daniel asked. "He didn't just work for me," Victoria whispered. "He saved my company." Years earlier, before Victoria became CEO, her father had planned to sell Sterling Enterprises after a financial crisis. Michael Carter, then the company's chief engineer, discovered massive fraud inside the accounting department. He gathered evidence and protected Victoria from being blamed for the losses. But before he could testify, he died unexpectedly. "I spent years trying to find your family," Victoria said. "Your father disappeared from our records after his death." Daniel swallowed hard. "My mother was terrified of losing everything. We moved constantly." Victoria looked at him with tears in her eyes. "Your father left me a letter." She opened a drawer and removed an envelope. The handwriting was unmistakable. Daniel read the letter silently. Michael had written that his greatest hope was not money or recognition. It was that his children would grow up believing that honest work was never beneath them. Daniel wiped his eyes. Victoria stood. "You came here applying for a janitor job," she said, "but your father gave this company something money could never buy." Daniel shook his head. "I'm not looking for charity." "I'm not offering charity." She pushed a folder toward him. "I'm offering you the position of Director of Engineering Operations, your father's old department." Daniel stared at her. "I haven't worked in engineering for years." "You understand people. You understand responsibility, and you know what sacrifice looks like." Daniel hesitated. "What about my son?" Victoria smiled. "Then bring him." Months later, Daniel walked through the same glass doors wearing a suit instead of a janitor's uniform. But something was different. He still carried Noah's crayon drawing. Victoria had framed a copy of it and placed it in Daniel's new office. Underneath it was a small plaque. "No honest job is ever beneath a good man." Daniel smiled. His journey had begun with desperation, but it ended with something far more valuable than a paycheck. He had found his father's legacy, and finally a future for his son.